العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, firstly thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once again. Allah has granted us the tawfiq and the ability to have performed our Maghrieb Salaah with Jama'ah. Alhamdulillah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we ask Allah to grant us sincerity and istiqamah. Ameen Rabbal Alameen. Last week we have discussed the chapter where the author mentions the virtue of having a long life. And not only a long life, but a long life in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he mentioned the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which emphasized the importance, or emphasized when he was asked, Ya Rasulullah, that which people are the best in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, those people who Allah's granted a long life, but not only a long life, but they do the best of actions. They do righteous deeds with that long life Allah has given to them. And on the contrary, Allah Rasul says the worst people in the eyes of Allah is the one, again, Allah has given him a long life, but he does evil actions with that long life. He doesn't realize that his time is coming to an end, his time is getting shorter and shorter. Rather, he take advantage of the time Allah has given to him and engage in sinful deeds. In the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that person, says Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is from amongst the worst of people in the eyes of Allah. So we ask Allah protection not to be from amongst those, but Allah must make us from the first group, and those who Allah grant a long life in the obedience, in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ameen Rabbal Alameen. And this evening the author starts off with the chapter Fadlul Maut, the chapter regarding the virtue of death. The virtue of death. And he starts off by saying, and he says that the ulama mention, قال العلماء, where they mention what is death. He says, إنما هو انقطاع تعلق الروح بالبدن. He says, in essence, death, sometimes we perceive as insan, me and you, we perceive death as the termination of life. Rather, it is a continuation of life. And he says, death, it is something, it is where the body separates, or the ruh separates from the body. This is when a person dies, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ruh is now moved away from that body, and that body which was the conveyance, is the carrier of the ruh. Now there's a separation between the two, says the ulama. And all connection is cut off from the body and the ruh. And then the ruh goes through different stages, and now he moves min darin ila dar. He moves from the abode of this dunya, and now he moves over, he continues his life into the next, the afterlife. And that's why the ulama is to say that إِنَّكُمْ لَا تُخْلَدُونَ لِلْفَنَا تُخْلَقُوا لِلْفَنَا, that you were not created to perish. وَإِنَّمَا خُلِقْتُمْ لِلْخُلُودِ, that you were created to live forever. وَالْأَبَدْ وَلَكِنَّكُمْ تُنْقَلُونَ مِنْ دَارٍ إِلَى دَارٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us such that we will move from one abode to the next. Like how we move from the wombs of our mothers, we came into this dunya, we will leave this dunya into the grave, and one day out of the grave again onto the day of Qiyamah in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and from there we will move again to Jannah or Jahannam. So life doesn't come to an end. This body will come to an end, but our life continues. It's a continuation of life. That's why the ulama say it's a continuation in stages of life that we go through. And that's why on the day of Qiyamah, you'll find people who are in regret. Ya laytaha kanat al-qadiya. They will say, Ya laytaha, I wish that I could come to an end, I could perish. How I wish I was just a leaf of grass. How I wish I was just a stone which had no life. So when Allah has given us life, this life doesn't come to an end. It moves from one stage to the next stage, and ultimately to the everlasting stage, which will be Jannah or Jahannam. And the author mentions, we will mention a few hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in where Rasulullah stresses, and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam explains to us the reality of maut and how a believer should look at it. And the first hadith he brings is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tuhfatul mu'min al-maut. where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, indeed, the most precious gift Allah can give a believer, it is death. A precious gift Allah can give a believer is death. Because when a person lived a righteous life, and he obeyed Allah and he worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he looks forward to leaving this dunya and moving over to the next. And that's why the hadith mentioned in Man ahabba liqa Allah, ahabba Allahu liqa'ah. That whoever loves to meet Allah, whoever's looking forward to meeting Allah, Allah's looking forward to meeting him as well. So the way we live our life in this dunya, how we spend our time in this dunya, that will determine how me and you will look at life. And how we are connected to this dunya and how the heart is connected to this dunya, that will make us react and perceive how death will be to us. If this dunya is the most beloved thing to us, then death will be the most hated thing to us. If doing righteous deeds and worshipping Allah and we find pleasure in the obedience of Allah, we find pleasure in listening to the thawab Allah has recorded for us and prepared for us, then death will be something that we look forward to. That's why Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in the hadith that indeed death is a precious gift Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the believers. In another hadith, Rasul says, Al-mawtu rihanatul mu'min, that indeed maut is rihanatul mu'min. It is like a rose to a believer, like a flower to a believer. Or the ulama explained rihana in the sense of rahmah and raha. It is a means of comfort and a means of the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when a believer leaves this dunya. In another hadith, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that Ithnan yakrahuma ibn Adam. Two things that Ibn Adam, that me and you, we dislike. The first one, yakrahul maut wal mautu khayrun lahu min al fitnah. The first thing we dislike is death. While death is something good for us, says Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa yakrahu qillat al mal, and we are fearful and we dislike having little wealth in this dunya, being from amongst the poor people, while aqallul hisab, while little wealth on the day of Qiyamah means you will have an easier reckoning because you have less to answer to on the day of Qiyamah. If only we understood the reality of having little and the reality of death, says Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will understand that death, it is a gift for a believer. It is a means of Allah's rahmah for a believer. And then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in the hadith where he says that indeed that a person who leaves this dunya is either two things, mustarih or mustarah. Mustarihun or mustarahun min. فقال يا رسول الله ما المستريح والمستراح. What are these two things you refer to, يا رسول الله? فقال العبد المؤمن يستريح من تعب الدنيا وأذاها إلى رحمة الله. That the mustarih is someone now ultimately, like how we normally say when you go to the maqbarah, we see written on the board, rest in peace. So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, mustarih is the one who leaves this dunya in such a state that now he's taking a rest. Meaning he's taking a rest from the tiredness of this dunya, from the afflictions of this dunya. He's taking a rest and experiencing the rahmah and the promises and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wal mustarah, it is a fajir wal fajir يستريح من العباد والبلاد والشجر والدواب. On the other hand, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says the mustarah is again the first one, he is taking a rest, but the second one, the people is taking a rest from him. Not only the people is taking a rest, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us even the land he lived on is taking a rest. The trees are taking a rest. The animals are taking a break from him. So even they were affected by the disobedience of this person. So Allah make us from the first group of people. So from these ahadith, my beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, we learn that indeed death is not the determination or the end of life. We should look at death as a continuation of life into the next world. And the way how we spend this life, which Allah has given us, this time which Allah has given to us, That will determine how our next life will be. That's why the stage of our life is the shortest stage. Sometimes people live 20, 30. Sometimes they don't even, they live 7 months in the womb of the mother. They don't even get to see this dunya. Many times you hear, sometimes they live until 100 years old. Ultimately, we will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The day will come when we will return to Allah, and we need to continuously reflect and ask, what will be my meeting like with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Will I be brought like as a criminal in the court of Allah? Or will I be of those who will be, of those who can't wait to meet our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our our time in this masjid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who will spend our time in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, use our life in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil